And this is why I like medical people. Medical people are very matter of fact. If you bring in 20 people or 25 people from a PMV accident to the hospital, this is what the medical people will do. They will come out and do an assessment. And they will figure out which ones can be saved and which ones can't be saved. So they make a decision. It's called a triage. So they will actually let some of the people pass away because they can't help them. I honestly think that we should be taking a triage approach to Papua New Guinea. Of course, everyone wants roads, everyone wants health centers, everyone wants brilliant schools. I've got 760 schools in my province. But we've got to make some value decisions, and we've got to do that knowing that we're sacrificing in some areas because the basket just isn't big enough. We invest in the critical areas. When I was investing in cocoa from 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, even today, a lot of my people said, well, why can't you invest in rice and why can't you invest here and there and everywhere? And I said, I've only got 1 million kina. I'm sorry. We're only going to do one thing. Many of them hated me for it at the beginning, but they're happy now. We got to do the same thing to the country. These are hard decisions. They're not easy, but they have to be taken. When you're running a country, just like when you're running a business, you can't make everyone happy. Someone said, if you want to do that, go sell ice cream. Running a country isn't about selling ice cream. You're going to upset some people, but it must be done so that everybody gets a fair shake and everybody gets a fair opportunity. Business principles dictate that you have to do things a certain way. One of the ways of managing efficient business is empowering your local business units so they can do the work while you oversight. Now that is true of business, it's also true of government. What we have done is centralized to a point where all significant decision making occurs here. Now, if I am to give you a perspective in my province, everything that's failing in my province, law and order, it's a national government responsibility. It's not a provincial government responsibility. Power, that's a national government responsibility. It's not a provincial government responsibility. Water, also a national government responsibility, not a provincial government responsibility. Our highways and port, again, national government responsibility. One of my arguments is that you need to empower the business units so they solve those problems themselves. It is about efficiency. We need to introduce efficiency into our systems of government. I've spoken a lot about block grants, and many of you are familiar with that. There's a simple reason for me wanting a block grant. It leads to efficiency if you do it properly. Other countries have done it, and they've done it very well. My key question is, why haven't we? Now, I believe that if we empower the local business units, they can create the havens we need for investment to take place so that we can get the jobs and all these other things that we talk about. As I said, fairly basic. A 5-year-old with a smartphone can Google it. So, let's get to the how. How do we do it? Again, it's very basic. PNG needs a strategic business plan that helps us to turn around. We don't have one at the moment. And even if we did, it's not worth talking about it because you need to be in a position to implement it. And that's got to be broken up at 6-month intervals. If we determine as a country that law and order is our #1 priority, we then have to, like the planning department says, we need 1 million jobs. Okay, well, how do we get the 1 million jobs? We have a limited bucket of money. We've got to invest in the critical areas first, but here's the thing. Government tends to forget that the biggest investor you can bring to the table is the private sector. And by private sector, I don't just mean the big companies. I mean the mums and dads as well. Many of you sitting in this room. If you know and you have the confidence that this country is going to go in the right direction, you are going to go and take your savings out and you are going to invest. You are going to send some money home to your relatives and tell them, go down to the CCI depot and pick up 1,000 cocoa seedlings and come plant them on our block. I'm talking about that kind of low-level grassroots investment. That's also private sector. The people themselves are going to start investing. That kind of confidence can only come if the big picture is pointing in a direction where we know that we are all going to have a fair, equal operating environment. We list all the issues, we prioritize them, and then we monitor them. We should be checking at 6 monthly intervals how we are progressing with the plan. I've been in Parliament 7 years, been in government 4.5 years. I have never seen us monitor the outcomes of the budgets that we do. We just spend money. That's got to change if we want to see us moving in the right direction. We have a youth bulge. We need 1 million jobs. Well, how do we get those jobs? We're not going to get them through the Connect PNG contractors. We know that already. Even government says, look, we've created 30,000 jobs through Connect PNG. Well, where's the other 970,000 that we want? That's going to come from the private sector. Every country on earth generates jobs through the private sector. We just keep missing that point here in PNG. We think government needs to generate that job, those jobs that we need. Again, it comes back to the confidence. How do we give the confidence to the private sector so that they can invest their money? And again, large-scale foreign direct investors all the way down to local investors in country to mums and dads.
Thank you to Governor Allan Bird. Dr. Amanda Watson from Australian National University. You're a wonderful orator. I thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. There was just one word I couldn't understand. It was 5 or 10 minutes before the end of your speech, and you said, as you know, I'm keen on, and it sounded like you were saying blog roll or something like that. I think a few of us were wondering what the word was and what you meant. Apologies, that was the one thing we just didn't catch. Thank you.
That was a block grant. I'm sorry, it could have been the microphone. Now, as you know, in Australia, the federal government uses a block grant system with the state governments. So you've actually got a small federal government and you've got large state governments. That's a deliberate design in Australia. So the federal government designs policy, monitors policy, and then you have inspections going on in the states to make sure that they're spending the money to achieve the outcomes that I guess all of Australia wants. So I'm arguing for the same system that the people of Australia currently enjoy. And the people of the United States, the people of India, the people of China and Europe and basically every other country except us. I hope that answers your question.